Mr. Mayor, it's time.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, those that can stand, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Hewitt.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales.
Present.
Councilmember Mitch Lindemann.
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta. Present. Councilmember Ray Shelton.
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro.
Present.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva.
Here.
Interim City Manager, City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons.
Present.
Thank you. Item number 4, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Ms. Andrade, do we have anyone this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any public participation requests.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, presentation discussion. We have Amistades Inc. with us today, which will make a presentation to us regarding the rise of fentanyl in Arizona. So if you please come forward and join us. Where's your partner?
She's coming. She was running a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can pass it on.
Some of them have plastic covers and some of them don't.
No problem. No problem at all. Would you like to wait for your partner, and
Yeah, she should be coming.
Okay.
She should be on the way.
or you can start, whatever is best for you.
We wanted to try to put the presentation, we wanted to connect the presentation on so that way,
So she may be coming with that.
yeah. She was trying to put on the thing, but it's not going on. She is trying to do that, but it's a lot
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. Sorry that we don't have the presentation of everybody. But our purpose here today is to talk about the rise of fentanyl in Arizona. As you may all have heard, fentanyl is a very big problem right now, and it's causing a lot of overdoses, not only within our country, but within our community. We're starting to see a lot more fentanyl present, and it's causing a lot of overdoses. First and foremost, I should introduce myself. My name is Monica Ibarra, and I'm working with Amistades Incorporated. I also work with the Douglas Police Department with Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative, where I help law enforcement create non-arrest pathways for people struggling with substance use disorder. So through this, we obviously provide education. With Amistades, I'm doing youth life skills classes as well as prevention classes. So it's been going really well, but you learn a lot. You learn a lot from attending different community events, talking to the different agencies, which is what we do, as well as talking with the youth and really understanding how much they know. As a parent, we think that, our kids will never hear of these things, or if we don't talk about it, they'll never find out what it is. But the reality of it is they're exposed a lot younger, and we're starting to see that a lot more. So I wanted to basically talk about the rise of fentanyl, why it's important, and really give you guys a really good understanding of how this is affecting us as a community. So fentanyl is here. There's more than 2,000 Arizonans overdosed from fentanyl in 2020 with no sign of cases slowing down. We're starting to see it more and more where youth are experimenting. They're doing it out of boredom. They've been exposed to it before, maybe their parents or whoever it is, but more and more youth are starting to use. There's another slide here where it talks about, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a text message of a mother who was basically talking about how her son had overdosed. And the doctors kept my son alive long enough for me to get to him. I was given the option to pull the plug. The damage was too far. His organs were shutting down. His brain was too damaged. I said to him, son, mommy is here and you do not have to be scared. I love you and it's okay to let go. Her son was only 15 years old. On the next slide, the next page, you guys can see the most common form of illegal fentanyl. And the reason for this is because there is no fentanyl in these forms legally. So as you can see, the first little picture right there is a picture of a Xanax bar, as they call them, bars. And it is laced with fentanyl. It is made with fentanyl, typically made in Mexico or other countries. And the next little picture shows a little baggie with M30s, also known as oxycodone 30 milligram. They look very similar, but these are not oxycodone. These are not from a doctor. Those are actually fentanyl pills. It's very hard to tell the difference between the two. They look the same. They, you wouldn't even be able to tell. It's very scary because in our community there are a lot of people who are taking prescribed medication and things happen. Sometimes they get their scripts taken away, whatever it is, but it can cause individuals to seek out the drugs elsewhere. And that's a big problem because people are coming into contact with pills like this where they think it's oxycodone and it's actually fentanyl, and it's causing them to overdose. So the next slide shows how the pills are used. They can be taken orally, swallowed, snorted, smoked, or injected. In our community, I think the ones that we've heard of the most, that we hear about, is smoking them. There is a myth going around that people that take them orally, you can overdose faster. So a lot of people will smoke them because they think that it's safer to do it that way. How big is the problem? It's really a big problem. It's a growing problem here in our community. It's very scary to see. We're hearing about it a lot more. One of the other things that I do here in the community is I distribute Narcan, Naloxone injections, or Narcan nasal spray. Me and my fiance, we go to the hot spots of Douglas. We go to the worst parts of town. And we come into contact with a lot of different individuals, some of them being our friends who are stuck in really bad places. And from what we've heard, heroin isn't popular like it used to be anymore. Everybody has basically turned to fentanyl. Everybody wants to use fentanyl now. And the reason for that being, it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier to get, and the high is a lot stronger. So people are starting to seek that now. Once they start using fentanyl, it's not the same as before. Like, they use it, they become hooked to it, their tolerance becomes very high because it is a stronger drug, and they need more and more and more. So an example, and this is kind of weird to be saying here, but a $20 bag of heroin, might last somebody, maybe a day. It's $20 though, it's $20. Whereas a fentanyl pill, you can get it for $5 a pill, and it's a lot stronger. So way cheaper, way easier to get, and the high is a lot stronger. So the next slide, don't be faked out. Knockoff pills sold on the streets or online contain the deadly substance fentanyl. So you can see right here, these are like the picture from before, the little bag of pills. It basically shows they're called M30s, also known as blues. If you guys ever hear that, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about these fentanyl pills. They look exactly like an oxycodone pill, also known as Percocet, but they are not the same at all. These are made, like I said, in various places in Mexico and other countries, and one portion of the pill can have nothing and the other portion can have a bunch of fentanyl on it. So you just never know what you're gonna get. So pills are easy to get. They're very easy to get, especially here in our community. We are a border community, and a lot of these pills are coming through the border. Obviously, I can't say how much is coming through the borders, but it is coming through the border. I know that a lot of the ones that are coming here to Douglas are coming from Nogales, and it's a problem. It's become a problem over there for them as well. Their overdose rates have skyrocketed as well. What's driving substance use? So curiosity. They just want to experiment. They want to see what it's like. If somebody's they're already using heroin, or they're using oxycodone pills or anything like that, they're starting to hear more about it and how popular fentanyl is, and they're curious. They want to know more about it. Stress relief. So that could be a big one, obviously. Stress relief. Everybody wants to be stressed. Some people have a beer. Some people smoke a cigarette. There's other people that are so stressed that they want to try substances. Dependence. So this is a big one too, because as we know, opioids like Percocet, Vicodin, morphine, all of these things, that we hear about at our doctor's office, or things that we've even gotten prescribed to us, they can cause us to become dependent on them. Our body becomes used to it. We need it at that point. If you guys have never, and I don't wish this on anybody, but if nobody's ever felt the feelings of withdrawal, it feels like you're dying. And it's an awful feeling, and people will go to great lengths to get well, to get better, to function. What can parents and caregivers do? So, I don't know, you guys are parents, grandparents, caregivers, aunt, uncle, whatever. We can talk about it. Talk early, talk often. Offer advice and guidance. Set limits you can live with. Show concern rather than anger. Ask open-ended questions. Work to understand your teen's point of view. So I think, and I grew up this way, where we didn't talk about certain things at home. We didn't talk about our feelings, or if we were depressed or going through something, because it was never a big deal. You're fine. You're just sad. You're gonna be okay. Mental health was something you didn't talk about at home, or the way that you felt. And I know from personal experience, talking about drugs and alcohol and all of these crazy subjects was something you didn't do. We didn't talk about it, maybe they'll never know about it. Maybe they'll never find out what it is. But that's just not true. The reality of it is, kids are getting exposed younger, kids are getting exposed more, and we need to talk about it. We need to sit down and have this conversation with our youth and educate them and let them know how dangerous this is and how one pill can be your last. Because that's what fentanyl is. Fentanyl is not one of those things where, oh, this isn't marijuana, where you try it and, something might happen, something might not, whatever. This is something that can kill you the first time. And it's happened. So we need to talk about this more often. Monitor social media. Take note of social media sites your child visits. It's very important that we do this as parents, grandparents, whatever it is. We need to pay attention to their social media and really keep an eye on it, because a lot of teens, that's where they're getting these drugs from. They're going to social media. People are actually, and I've seen this on my social media, where I've seen people posting that they have different drugs available. And it's there. It's easily accessible. It's there, and it's very scary because I see it and, I just scroll right past it. But, maybe a 15-year-old who's going through things, or who is already dependent on something, they might stop and they might end up messaging that person. Keep track of passwords and usernames, and that's important too. That way, if you need to get into their social media sites, to really monitor it and pay attention to that. Set limits on the amount of time they are online, and talk with them about what they are seeing and posting. And that's another thing too, they're going to see a lot of things online. They're going to see these things, and we need to let them know, if you see them, that's one thing, but to actually follow through with it, message them, try to obtain these things, that's a whole different thing. That's why we need to educate our teens on this. I actually missed a slide on page number 6. I forgot to turn it around. I forgot they were double-sided, I'm sorry. So understanding if your child is at higher risk. So traumatic events, impulse control difficulties, family history of substance use, diagnosed or undiagnosed mental health issues, depression, anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. These things can all cause a child or even a person to be at higher risk for substance use, especially when we talk about traumatic events. I know somebody who would always tell people that they had started smoking marijuana at 13, and later on in their adult years they started using other drugs. And somebody asked them one time, do you think that marijuana was the gateway drug for you? And this person says, no, trauma was the gateway for me. It was unresolved trauma. It was things that they went through that they never discussed, and it was very hard for them to talk about. And it ultimately led to them using various substances. Family history of substance use. So that one's very important because there are studies that show that youth that come from families where substance use is with the parents have a higher risk of also becoming having an addictive behavior. So, just to talk just really quick a little bit about Naloxone and Narcan. So, like I said, this is something that we are able to provide. I am able to provide. I do Narcan trainings with El Orozco. We can provide these trainings anywhere. And right now, what we are trying to provide these trainings within the schools. We've kind of gotten the okay. So we're working on it so that way we can go to all DUSD schools as well as the charter schools and provide Narcan training for all staff. I hope that they never have to use Narcan. I hope that they never have to use the skills that they'll learn. But if they ever do, we want them to be prepared. So so that's what we're going to be working on. Is there any questions or?
Members of the council, do you have anything you'd like to add or ask? Mr. Shelton?
Yes. After teaching for a couple of years, 51 and a half, but anyway, a lot of kids, they don't realize what these drugs do to you. You know, even starting off with marijuana, they think it's nothing. And man, I could give you so many stories of kids that have taken drugs and they've committed suicide, or they've gone out and accidentally shot somebody when they were high over the years. You know, society has changed so much since I was growing up. And my nephew, he's like my little brother, and he started with marijuana and then started smoking some of this. And he was 60, and I had the doctor said he had smoked so much marijuana and that he had the size of a heart, 4 times the size of your normal heart. And he had a heart attack, and I had to hold his hand while he died because of drugs. And but some of these kids, 90% of them realize it, but it's that 10% that are sitting there and they think it's cool to do whatever drug they're doing. And that's the ones that we have to hit. And I'm sure if you were to go into their home setting, you would see why. But man, it's something. I'll never forget this. When drugs were starting, Danny Smith came out of the boys' bathroom. He said, man, they're smoking marijuana in the bathroom. And we thought it was a new cigarette. I mean, that's how far we've come.
Yeah.
So we need to touch the families and make them realize what's going to happen to their precious son or daughter that does it. But thank you for this, and we need to get out there to schools, especially the high school and junior highs, and present this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else? Yes, please, Mrs. Acosta.
Can you just briefly explain to everybody the resources that anybody having these kind of substance use problems, and how you guys are working with the police department as well?
So some of the resources we have listed right here, if as you guys can all see, we have talknowaz.com, naloxoneaz.com. That is basically a map that shows the different resources throughout Arizona. My contact information is also on there. If you go to the Douglas portion, you can click on it. Phone number is there, and I'm able to provide naloxone. I do it to personal residences as well. And we can go to you, we can train anybody on it. So opioidod.com, and then the different Facebook Myeloma Prevention Consortium. And we can post all of that too, so that way everybody can have that information. As far as the Douglas Police Department goes, anybody who is struggling with a substance use disorder, if they feel, and this could be anyone you guys know, they can go into the police department and request transportation to treatment. 2 officers will provide transportation to treatment, to a treatment facility. We were transporting to Benson, but we have recently collaborated with another rehab detox center in Tucson, and we are able to make those arrangements to get the person safely there. So a big thank you to Chief Craig Fullen for making that possible and for opening that door for people to allow them to come in. If they do have any drugs or paraphernalia on them, they can surrender it to the officers without worrying about any charges, and it will be properly disposed of. So that's a really good resource to have. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If you could provide this information, Ms. Ibarra, to our staff, to Damien, Dorame, and so that we can also post it on our social media thing so that we can hopefully get it out as much as we can.
Definitely.
But we really, truly appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
It's something that sadly, it's needed.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I would also encourage that you may want to reach out to the schools, but also to the different religious organizations in town to offer that also to them. Because many of us that go to church, we think our kids are perfect. And I think this would be also to allow us to be able to see those signs, teach us and train us how we can see those signs to see how they're hurting. And do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and us also for being here. Item number 6A, second reading of ordinance number 21-1136, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, modifying Title 8 to the Douglas Municipal Code relating to health and safety by amending ordinance 826 under chapter 8.32.260, regulating methods of issuing citations, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Gardner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
I'm sorry, Peter. Just so that we can go back to the item, it's 6, discussion decision on approvals, and then, yes.
So to be perfectly clear, thank you. Our new format, still getting used to it. So let's discuss a decision on approvals, and item A is the second reading. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As stated, this is an amendment to change how staff is able to issue citations. This is pertaining to zoning violations, building code violations, things that generally we like to work with folks and get, and almost always get voluntary compliance when we do have problems. But there's always those folks that refuse to work with us and just don't clean up properties, don't fix things. And in those cases, we do have the authority to issue citations. Our code has been a little unclear and has generally required us to issue citations face-to-face. That causes us problems in two situations. One is when folks just physically dodge us around town. They won't open the door, we can't get them a citation. Or the bigger problem is when we have out-of-state property owners. There's a number of buildings that most of you could think of downtown that have some issues that need to be worked on, but the property owners don't live here in Douglas. And so our most powerful tool to issue a citation is off the board right now. This would allow us to serve those via certified mail, or the initial ordinance said via any other method approved by state statute. Under the advice of our attorneys, we'd like to broaden that to state law, because that does bring in some case law and some other opportunities. So staff is asking for this amendment to give us the ability to serve those citations in ways other than personal service, so we can really start cracking down on those properties from out-of-state owners that need to be fixed.
Excellent, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the second reading?
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Costa.
I move that mayor and council approve the second reading of ordinance number 21-1136 and to place it on the third reading by number and title only and declaring an emergency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldonegro, to approve the second reading of ordinance number 21-1136 and to place it on third reading by number and title only and declaring an emergency. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, modifying Title 8 of the Douglas Municipal Code relating to health and safety by amending ordinance 826 under chapter 8.32.260, regulating methods of issuing citations, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the third reading?
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Morales.
I move that mayor and council approve the third reading of ordinance number 21-1136 by number and title only and declaring an emergency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Morales, second by Mrs. Acosta, to Approve the third reading of ordinance number 21-1136 by number and title only and declaring an emergency. Any discussion or comments?
One question.
Please, Mr. Shelton.
How about if somebody doesn't do it to, comply with it? Do we have certain numbers, 500, 600, 1,000? What happens?
We do, what would happen is this would go to court. I'm afraid I don't know the numbers off the top of my head as well as I should. But the judge can order several things. Can order fines, can order that the city be permitted to go in and do cleanup or repairs, and then place a lien on the property for the amount.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. And, I'd like to see, if I could, what the money is that we might be finding them to begin with, and get it going, because if we're going to do the downtown revitalization program, we need to get some teeth into it.
And zoning violations, sir, are often written that each day is a separate offense. So these can snowball very, very quickly if folks don't fix things. So even smaller fines, say $100, $100 a day adds up in a big hurry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pedrosa. Would you please provide that information to council? Will do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales,
Yes.
and Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, modifying Title 8 of the Douglas Municipal Code relating to health and safety by amending Ordinance 826 under Chapter 8.32.260, regulating methods of issuing citations, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Item number 6B, discussing decision on approval of city manager appointment and authorizing the execution of an employment agreement with Mrs. Ana Urquijo. As you know, we've been searching for our city manager for a while. I'm without words to be able to express my elatement of having Ana decide to continue her career down here. We went through the interview process and negotiation of a contract, and I just want to tell you a little bit about Ana. Ana Urquijo returns to the City of Douglas as a seasoned public manager with 33 years of experience in state, county, and local government. She returns after serving 5 years at the City of Tucson in positions of Executive Management Advisor, Administrative Services Officer / Human Resource Director, and since February of this year, Interim Assistant City Manager, overseeing the Departments of Business Services, Information Technology, and the Offices of Internal Audit, Innovation and Strategy, and Equal Opportunity Programs. Ana has been a key contributor of efforts focused on strategic planning and financial sustainability to include competitive wage adjustments and employee-centric programs. Ms. Urquijo graduated from the University of Arizona with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Public Administration in the wonderful Elder College of Public Administrations, which your beloved mayor led the way before you got there. And later earned a Master's of Arts degree in Organizational Management from the University of Phoenix. She also maintains a credentialed manager designation with the International City/County Management Association and is a member of the Arizona City/County Management Association and is a certified public manager, a designation issued by the state of Arizona and that other university to the north. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that. Arizona State University, who started out as Tempe Normal. Ana Urquijo previously served the City of Douglas for 24 years as Human Resource Director and Deputy City Manager. She thrives on hard work, community engagement, and planning the future of the organization. Born and raised in Douglas, Ana is a third-generation member of the community. Ms. Urquijo looks forward to using her broad skill set to implement the vision of the mayor and council and ensuring that Douglas is best positioned for the future as it recovers from the pandemic with focus on development of the local economy and enhancing Douglas's unique quality of life. Before joining the city of Douglas, as she started her career after college, Ana worked for the state of Arizona Department of Administration in Phoenix as a personnel analyst and as an operations support supervisor overseeing human resources for the Department of Economic Security. She later worked for Cochise County as a human resource analyst as she transitioned to her career closer to Douglas to raise her family. Ana and her husband Jose, who's here with us this evening also, have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. We're fortunate to have Ana's parents here with us. I know Don Luciano hasn't been feeling the best lately, and it's great to see him out in the community and be here with us with his dear wife and the rest of the family members. May I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton.
I move that the mayor and council approve the appointment and employment agreement for city manager with Mrs. Ana Urquijo as presented effective October 18th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Lindeman to approve the appointment and employment agreement of the city manager with Mrs. Ana Urquijo as presented effective October 18, 2021. Any questions or discussion by council members?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
first I'd like to thank yourself, the mayor, and the vice mayor. They represented the council very admirably during these discussions for the contract. And as far as the city manager position, I've gotten comments, 2 separate comments. One, you need somebody that knows Douglas. And we need somebody that knows the identity of Douglas, so something that we can't lose. And then the second group was, we need somebody to help grow Douglas, because we need employment. We need to grow as far as, just as a community. And I think Mrs. Urquijo is the perfect candidate because she not only is from here, but she has gone to Tucson, bigger cities, and has known what it takes for them to grow, what it takes for us to grow. So I'm very excited, and I think this is the perfect candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Shelton?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I shouldn't say thank you. Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Calva,
Welcome home. Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales,
With great enthusiasm, yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Urquijo, would you like to address us at this time? You're more than welcome to.
Very happy
So first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for the kind words in Humboldt. Very anxious to come home, and I want to just express my gratitude and let you know that I will work very hard for the community to make sure that I represent your vision and collective vision for the community to your constituents. You know, the presentation just before us today was very insightful and gives a glimpse of the challenges that any community has. And it's what makes us thrive to do better. It's what makes me get up and roll up my sleeves to work for a community. I have with me today my very selective family fan club that followed me today. And, you know, it's about community. It's for them, I think that, and we all have a group of that, you know, collective community in our own homes. It's for them that we get up every morning and we do what we do. And we step up and we roll up our sleeves to make our communities better. So I, you know, wholeheartedly, I believe that there is no profession more rewarding for my youth than being a public servant. And I commit to that hard work, to working every day. You know, having my parents here are seniors to see the history and what their eyes have seen in this community as well provides, you know, a humbling and resiliency for us to learn. Seeing my own children here and the commitment and the, you know, now as young parents, and everyone in our community as young parents or young executives striving to do the right thing for their children with all the challenges we know that they have, it brings us hope and it gives us that determination to try and mentor them even better. And then ultimately our children, you know, I have grandchildren here today, and they're the beacon of light in my life, but the youth should represent that same beacon of light for us in our community, and that's what it's about. I think it's you know, they're my beacon of light because that light helps me to see how much I have to focus on that for the community and work with you to inspire, you know, what we can do to make the community, you know, better. And Douglas is a wonderful community. I'm just anxious to be back very soon, and thank you for the confidence in having me be your next city manager. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Urquijo. Item number 7, adjournment. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mrs.
To
Morales.
adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Morales, second by Mr. Shelton to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at